So glad you've all joined us today for this really exciting panel. We called it Leave No One Behind in the Clean Energy Transition because we're focused on not just how we develop clean energy projects, but how we make sure that those projects really provide good jobs and benefits to the communities where they're situated. We know that if we work together, the developers, the investors, the regulators, the labor movement, all of us, the utilities that are buying the power, setting up these projects, the procurers of energy, if we work together, we can accelerate this transition and really get projects that benefit all of us. So the panel today is going to reflect some of those different perspectives and suggest ways that working together we can get the best possible outcomes. I'm really excited. We have Priti Patel, who's Vice President and Chief Transmission Officer at Great River Energy. We have Kim Randolph, who's a Vice President of Energy Supply Projects at Xcel Energy. Kate O'Hare, who's Vice President of Development at North EDF Renewable Energy, that's Électricité de France. We have Stacey Carrolls, President of the Mankato Valley Building and Construction Trades Council. Katie Sieben, who's Chair of the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission. Nate O'Reilly, President of the Southeastern Minnesota Building and Construction Trades Council and a business agent with Ironworkers Local 512. And then we have two workers, Ashlyn Curtis and Matt Stoltz, who are both Ironworker apprentices from Ironworkers Local 512. We'll talk about how these jobs really matter to them and their families and how they look forward to doing more of this kind of work. It's going to be an exciting panel, and we're going to kick it off with Priti.
My name is Priti Patel, and I serve as the Vice President and Chief Transmission Officer for Great River Energy. Great River Energy, or GRE, is a not-for-profit generation and transmission cooperative that's based in Maple Grove, Minnesota. We're the second largest utility in the state, and we're owned and we serve 28 member distribution cooperatives that are predominantly located in Minnesota. Through our members, we serve around 1.3 million people. Like many utilities, our power supply portfolio is becoming increasingly renewable. It's evolved over the years. Over the years, we have closed coal plants for economic reasons. We've already met our obligation under the Minnesota Renewable Energy Standard Act to have 25% of our electrical generation from renewable sources by 2025. We did it 8 years ahead of the requirement. And in 2018, we put ourselves on a path to meet a new goal established by our members to achieve 50% renewable energy by 2030. And last year, we went a step further to continue to evolve our power supply portfolio. And we announced that we would close or sell our largest coal plant, Coal Creek Station, and add more than 1,100 megawatts of wind. So with this, we will have transitioned to a largely renewable power supply portfolio by 2023. Every decision that we make is based on the best interest of our members, not on the needs of investors like other utilities. I can tell you that as we transition our generation portfolio, we have really been guided by three important values. First, engaging in a responsible and just transition. Second, serving in the economic best interest of our members. And third, supporting technological innovation because we know it will take more than just wind and solar to run the bulk power system reliably. We know that our announcement over the retirement of Coal Creek Station from our power supply portfolio would also have a significant impact on employees in that area and the local community. And although we can't make up for the total loss, we're taking steps to lessen that impact. We have signed long-term contracts for renewable energy from our wind farm. These projects will produce emission-free energy, lower electric rates, and provide a much-needed boost at Minnesota's as the Minnesota economy is recovering from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. We at GRE also make a commitment to add to the local economies of our members with our Buy Local program. We encourage the use of local suppliers and labor. But I want to now address your question. What advice should I have, or would I have, for utilities who are working with clean energy developers? And to that, I would make a few points. make your organization's business values known to the developers. As a cooperative, we understand that transitioning to renewables in a just, equitable, and sustainable way is the right thing to do. Developers should understand what that means to us. As a cooperative, one of our foundational cooperative principles that we've had since our inception is a concern for community coupled with sustainability. We know that this transition is significantly impacting the communities that we operate in. Fossil fuel generators and the mines that support them are important components of the economies and communities that support them. We know that mitigating the impacts where it's possible is our responsibility. And when we invest in renewables with developers, we want to make sure that they understand what is important to us, mainly to ensure that the renewable projects support local economies, and they do so in a way that is just and equitable. To ensure that local labor is being used at a prevailing wage. So I'll end with this, that clean energy development is a statewide issue. It's not just a utility and developer issue. It's about having plans in place to reemploy people that may be displaced in the transition, not with just temporary jobs, ones that can support families. And we utilities can do what we can. We all have a role in it.
Many of you likely already know that Xcel Energy is the first major U.S. power provider to announce a vision of delivering 100% carbon-free electricity by 2050. Now, we also have an interim goal of reducing carbon emissions 80% by 2030, all the while keeping our service reliable and keeping our bills low. And I am happy to report that we are well on our way, having cut carbon 44% in 2019, and that was a record 10% drop in a single year. So Xcel Energy has been the nation leader in wind energy since 2005, and we are now making the nation's largest multi-state wind investment that will increase our wind capacity 70% by 2022. And it's all under our strategy that we call Steel for Fuel. Now we're implementing these transformative plans, these clean energy plans that retires half of our coal capacity between 2006 and 2027. In recent decades, we've retired coal plants in Minnesota, and we've done so without layoffs. And we believe we can do this again at our King and Sherco plants through attrition, retirements, and retraining of our staff. Our approach relies upon renewables combined with the coal retirements, the continued operation of our nuclear plants carbon-free, and the use of natural gas generation to get us to 80% reduction of carbon. And in order to eliminate that last 20% of carbon on our system, we will need new carbon-free technology that is dispatchable and available 24/7. Some of the things we're exploring include advanced nuclear, hydrogen, geothermal. June 2020, the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission, they made a call for utilities to bring forth ideas to stimulate economic growth, considering the pandemic impacts. So Xcel Energy, we stepped forward and we proposed one of the largest packages of energy investments in Minnesota history. And we are very appreciative to the commission that recently approved a portion of that plan to invest $750 million to repower 5 of our older wind farms with new technology right here in Minnesota, which will save customers money and create 700 construction jobs. Additionally, we've proposed $2 billion in accelerated and incremental investments into other clean energy projects and other initiatives to help jumpstart the economy. Finally, another major initiative that Xcel Energy is committed to supporting is the adoption of electric vehicles. Transportation is the largest emitter of carbon emissions, and we're excited to promote our vision of powering 1.5 million electric vehicles in the states we serve by 2030. So as we move into 2021 and beyond, we are excited about what the future holds. We're making great progress on our carbon reduction goals. We look forward to working with our communities and our stakeholders as we invest in these key projects in Minnesota and other states that we serve. The most exciting piece of this relief and recovery plan that we're proposing is not only that it does help our customers in lowering bills, but it does bring jobs. It brings good construction jobs to the industry. Around 5,000 is what we're estimating over all of those projects over the years that we'll have. The unions, the laborers, they are a very important piece of that, so that they do such great training and safety and bringing forth very highly qualified, technically competent workers that are really going to help us deliver on this $3 billion of projects that we've proposed. We're committed to having a thriving workforce that represents the communities that we serve, right? So we have a very strong focus right now on diversity and inclusion. My advice would be to engage early with your stakeholders. You can't be everything to everybody, but you can be a good steward to all. When we're selecting a contractor to work with to help us deliver all of these investments and all this infrastructure, we don't go for low cost. Does this contractor have relevant experience? Do they have the technical capabilities, the quality of their work? We now also grade on job quality. The amount of local hiring that contractor can bring to our projects, the quality of those jobs, what is the pay, what is the benefits. Now those things more and more are part of our evaluation. So we're not going for low cost, we're going for best value, what's best for the project, what is best to help us deliver upon our commitments.
Hi, I'm Kate O'Hare, Vice President of Development for the North Region at EDF Renewables. As a long-term owner and operator of many of the projects that we build, much of the team that makes up the workforce to construct and operate and maintain our projects are local. The way that we engage is often at the project's inception, where we first are beginning to reach out with the landowners and the community stakeholders. As we transition to the project permitting and implementation phase, we often engage with the local workforce to continue to build support and momentum for our projects when they're seeking approvals. We often find that by demonstrating both the long-term economic impacts for the project hosts and the communities, as well as the construction and the long-term job opportunities, the increase in the tax base, the landowners' opportunities to diversify their incomes by supporting these projects, is a great way to build momentum and ultimately allow our projects to thrive. We often engage with the local workforce as frequent supporters of our permit hearings, letters of support to the local papers, project kickoffs, ribbon cuttings, and dedications, which is really a great opportunity to showcase the amazing skill and workmanship that local workforce can bring to our projects. And we have found that in places where we do bring that engagement early on, that we really are successful most of the time with getting our projects through the permitting process and ultimately into construction. If developers don't engage with the local communities and the workforce as a part of that, it often can struggle to get through the permitting process. There's a lot of questioning and hesitation around why these things aren't an important piece of the project. It's a very competitive space when you're adding new clean energy projects. It's a matter of pennies as to which projects are going to move forward. And although the clean energy transition is being led by utilities and companies and regulators with big ideas, the decision often comes down to economics as those decisions are made. In addition to reputable customers and best-in-class technology, good renewable energy resource, all of those things, the community engagement and local workforce oftentimes is forgotten in that value chain. But when we use good sense and when we do the things that we have been talking about and engage in the community and the local workforce, you are almost all the best in class. And all of us as consumers and ratepayers are going to value from the local economic development, keeping our rural communities strong and diverse with the things that are supporting them. My advice for entities seeking renewable energy is be clear about your procurement efforts. In addition to good value, reputable business partners, community engagement, and local workforce, these are all important factors in your decision for which projects you want to engage. Using best practices is what allows our projects to be successful. It's important that we think about the things that we value and that we are incorporating them into the projects that we build, which is why we have 13 gigawatts of projects under operation. It's the right thing to do. It makes good sense, and it's good for all of us across the nation.
My name is Stacy Carrolls, business agent for Labor's Local 563, also president of the Mankato Valley Building Construction Trades Council. Been a business agent for about 10 years. I got 16 previous years in the field of construction as a union labor. Also down in southern Minnesota for my entire life. Projects happen for in the local areas with the local workers that don't get a chance to get on the jobs. A lot of the community gets upset. They don't want to step forward to help promote anything like that again. It's happened in the past in southern Minnesota. We've had good wind farms in some areas, and either local farmers get taken advantage of, or there's no local workers on the job. They get a sour taste in their mouth, and later down the line, they don't want to support any of those projects. Hopefully it's going to be an easy transition, because our members that work in fossil fuel industry, all this work is similar in nature. They're doing concrete work, they're putting up steel structures, even on the solar side. You got roads, you got culverts. It's all similar in nature to what we do already. So our members are already skilled in this and are trained in this type of work already. We started a program in Minnesota called Construct Tomorrow. We get all the union trades people together, and we pull into a venue of some sort where we set up our stations, bring in all these high school students in here from all areas of the state. The last one that we did in Mankato in 2019, it was roughly around 800 students that came throughout the day. They all get to stop at the stations. Each trade's got some type of hands-on program that just give them a taste of what we do. We are targeting diverse groups, trying to get everybody of color, male, female, just everybody involved, because it's a job for anybody. I mean, it's a career for anybody, and you can support your families in the future. So our members who live out in these smaller communities are people like you and me. They've got other things that they do. Some may be farmers, some may be volunteer firemen. When they're in the local communities working locally, they're able to participate doing that stuff. And it all helps everybody in the long run.
We have seen, just by asking the questions and measuring it, there has been a better outcome. Our job as public utilities commissioners is to balance the impacts on community and ratepayers. And so projects that have been especially meaningful or beneficial to Minnesota are ones where local, well-trained, skilled workers are used. And in projects where the commission has asked developers those questions, are they going to use local workers, for example, or well-skilled workforce? We have seen positive benefits come out of those projects as compared to times when we don't ask those questions or the developers aren't held to that standard. We want to ensure that local workers and local communities, local businesses benefit from that clean energy transition. And so our role as regulators is to, again, push developers, push utilities to say, we don't necessarily want you to invest in the lowest cost projects. We want you to invest in projects that make sense for communities and make sense for the state of Minnesota. A critical component of seeing a renewable project successfully permitted is having buy-in from the local community. And projects where the utility or the investor is working on the ground to build support amongst local members of the community, those projects just move much more smoothly through the regulatory process. This is the revenue that it will generate for your school, or these are the businesses that will be impacted because you're using workers from the community. All of those things build a record. So there's certainly been projects that developers or utilities have not invested in that front end work of trying to explain the benefit of their project. And if there's real opposition, it can be much more difficult to get that approval from regulators. So the importance of heavy stakeholder engagement on the front end is really critical, I think, to helping smooth the clean energy transition from a regulator perspective. Another important component of the clean energy transition is the impact on ratepayers and investment on the front end in dialogue and understanding between stakeholders and helping folks on the ground understand the real benefits of a new renewable energy project lowers costs over time. So I think that partnership between stakeholder groups, labor, local elected officials, state legislators, governors, and regulators is really critical. Minnesota, as many folks know, has a tremendous amount of wind capability and wind is rich in wind resources. Additionally, our solar capabilities are strong. And so I think it's a great place to do business for developers to invest because policymakers, regulators, and other community members want to see meaningful, equitable, sustainable projects built in the upper Midwest and especially in Minnesota, and we would certainly welcome that investment.
Hi, I'm Ashlyn Curtis. I have been an ironworker apprentice for 2 years with local Ironworkers 512. I was out on the wind farm. We were doing a repower, so we were putting in the new equipment. We would take the nacelle down, which is like the big body part on the top of the tower, and take the blades down, and then we'd put a new nacelle up and new blades up, and we would tension them and all that. It's newer for me because I'm only a second year apprentice, but it is going to be more, I feel like it's going to be more prominent in our industry. So I kind of just want to learn all of the ironworking. So it was pretty cool to be on something so new for me anyway. I would like to do more of the actual wind farm stuff because to me that was actually pretty fun. Learning how they work, because not to be negative, but I didn't think they were all that great to start off with, but learning more about them, I see how they're going to work better and stuff like that for the future. But I see more wind projects, more structural work for me. When you start, you're at 70% of a journeyman's wage, which our journeyman is $38.35, so 70% of that. And then you just go up, what is it? Every couple months, I think it is, like 6 months. My pay is going to go up. Benefits will, I mean, that varies, but our benefits are pretty good right now. So, but yeah, it helps me get on my journey to a journeyman. I have always been around union work. My dad is actually a retired union iron worker. My husband is a union boilermaker. So, I mean, I did do a couple jobs before where they weren't union, they were low pay. It never fit for me. It takes, I mean, you have to have dedication. You can't say no to anything. You have to learn your skills. You have to be on par with everything. Always take job opportunities. Don't say, maybe not, maybe. Learn everything you can, from rebar to wind farm to structural glass. Just learn everything that you can.
My name is Matt Stoltz. I'm a 2-year ironworker apprentice. I also work for the Ironworker Local 512 here in the Twin Cities. My opportunity came from the hall. We have a hiring hall. So basically, the employers that are running the wind energy projects, they call our hall. I learned actually a lot. With being a second-year apprentice, we're getting into a lot of rigging. We're getting into a lot of actual structural ironwork. A lot of our jobs as of right now, are a lot of erection based, and that's with putting up the new wind towers, which I was working on. Is a lot of the new erection, putting up the bases, putting the cans up, basically erecting the whole entire process. And realistically, with learning aspects, there is a lot of different things to learn out there. I mean, there's a large part of our work is rigging. I mean, there's a lot of heavy objects, picking them up, having to move them in precise locations. There's also a lot of different tooling techniques that we've learned, or that I personally learned out there. So I mean, it's a very good atmosphere to be in, to learn a lot. One of those towers can power so many houses, and it takes away from having pollutants in the air. I mean, we can technically, hopefully in the near future, revert from coal power. We can use this green viable energy and have a lot lower carbon footprint on the world in itself, because it's kind of seems that's what we're leaning towards everywhere now, is trying to make sure that we're cleaner, doing better, making sure everything's going to last a lot longer for our children. And it's nice to see your accomplishments for work, and you can tell someone that, hey, I put these up here, and basically supporting X amount of houses and power that doesn't have that big of a carbon footprint for people. You always keep your head up towards the sky, especially when you're lifting. A lot of these objects are thousands of pounds, and we're bringing them up 300 feet in the air. My training at the Ironworkers, you've always learned to make sure that you're looking out for yourself, looking out for your brothers and sisters out there, and just making sure that you go home safe every day. As a second year apprentice, we have 1 year left, and then we are technically considered a journeyman. And then after we turn into a journeyman, we actually get to be allowed to travel anywhere in the United States for work. And as of that, I'd like to be, someday become a foreman, some higher positions, and start running my own crews and being able to compete with all the other guys out here, and make myself better to do that. For family base, it means a lot. I recently just got married in September, so it's being an iron worker for a year before that, and working for the union. It's a huge plus because our benefits are good, our healthcare is amazing. Working on jobs, say wind or structural, or realistically anything we've had through or that I've worked on through our hall right now is a huge supporter in funding for looking for houses and stuff, and basically setting myself up to be very successful in the near future.
My name is Nate O'Reilly. I am a business agent with Ironworkers Local 512. I also have another role. I serve as the Southeast Minnesota Building and Construction Trades Council president. Without a doubt, when it comes to wind farms or energy production in the United States and in Minnesota, we are in a transition. There are things happening. There are things need to change. The building trades as a whole, we've kind of had a mixed bag with it. On one aspect, we get excited about jobs. These are good paying union jobs with benefits. But then on the other hand, we've seen a lot of jobs our members did not go to work on. People coming from, California or Utah or Texas, and the local communities, the energies here, the benefiting the community and stuff, but not seeing the full potential of that benefit by putting local people to work on these projects. If out-of-state worker, they're taking it wherever, and that's not the worst thing in the world. But when we have workers here paying into healthcare funds, so it isn't just the wages and the benefits of it, it's healthcare. I can tell you our workers alone come to about $25 to $28 million per year that our members pay into the healthcare system here, predominantly in Minnesota.
So you've heard in this panel a bunch of different perspectives on what matters, but I think there's some consistent principles here about how it is we incorporate the worker perspectives, the community perspectives, alongside the real priority of getting these projects built and producing really clean energy for our future, all of us. I've written a short report with my colleagues, all of those on the panel contributed, and others around the globe really contributing to how we think about this together. My report is called Practices for Just, Sustainable, and Equitable Development of Clean Energy, but this is an evolutionary process. So we're looking forward to working on these issues together and moving forward. Feel free to call me and put your notes in the chat, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation and the work together.